Welcome to the part 3 of our discussion on how to grow your school's population. In parts 1 and 2, we looked at the teacher as the singular most important factor, the quality of the teacher, to whether a school's population will grow or not. And we tried to do this based on the background that McKinsey International and The Economist magazine ran research that proved this beyond reasonable point. In those two parts, we provided schools with 4 things that they can do that will help them to achieve having great teachers. Number 1 is to have a very, very important employment policy. Number 2 is to have a very, very good training and retraining policy. And we try to explain in details how to go about it. And the third thing we talked about was the issue of onboarding. And we try to see onboarding as not just something you carry out on newly recruited staff, but something that a school that wants to move from point A to point B should also have for the existing staff, so that they will be able to fit into the place you see as your next destination. And the fourth thing that we looked about was the issue of motivation. And we try to see motivation as not necessarily or primarily things that have to do with money, but the way we value our staff and the way we communicate that fact. And the fact that for our staff to be valued, they have to be the ones to determine whether they are valued or not. Today, we want to look at the second factor that helps schools to grow their population. This factor is so very important that we have to take it as seriously as it can get. My name, once again, is Uchenna Ezugu. I am an educational consultant. The factor that is coming second after the quality of the teacher is the school's USP. USP means unique selling point. Some people call it unique selling proposition, but we shall be using unique selling point because it suits our discussion today more than the other name. And so most of the time I will refer to it as USP just to save time. And so what exactly are USPs? Unique selling points are those features that your school has that differentiates your school from all the other schools within your neighborhood. In every neighborhood, you have many schools. And primarily, primary and secondary schools are established to teach the subjects, English, math, and so on and so forth. And so, parents are spoiled for choice. But a school with a strong USP narrows that choice. So it becomes that school and others. And so, having a USP, having a unique selling point, differentiates you from the others, stands you out from the others, makes you a school of destination, that it is only those who cannot afford your school that will prefer to leave your school and go to somewhere else. So it is very, very important that every single school should become very, very deliberate about the fact that if they do not have unique selling points, that they should immediately develop one. And to help you do this is my goal today. And so first of all, why should we have USPs? Well, I've tried to answer part of this question, which is number 1, that it differentiates us from the others. And if it differentiates us from the others, it increases our visibility. And if it increases our visibility, it helps us to grow our enrollment. Many, many parents will prefer to bring their children to our school than to take their children elsewhere. Point number 2, second reason why we should have a USP or USPs is that it increases our chances of being sustainable. Sustainability in the sense that when you bring in students and are not able to keep them, you have not achieved much. But with strong USPs, when you bring them in, you're able to keep them because you are offering them special values that they can't get elsewhere, most likely. And what that means is that they will now stay in spite of all odds because of the value they are getting from you. So the second point is that it brings about sustainability. So you'll not be afraid of attrition at the end of every session. Number 3 point is that it guarantees your school's financial health. You will have good financial health all the time, because so long as students are coming in and so long as they are remaining with you, it is taken for granted that they will pay school fees. As a matter of fact, parents who will not be able to pay school fees may not come. And when they come, because they are getting something that is compelling, the value they are getting from you is much, they will prioritize school fees. So most of the time, it's not that parents don't have money to pay school fees. It is that they don't prioritize it. And they don't prioritize it because they don't have reasons to prioritize it. And so if you offer them the reason to prioritize school fees, it can be taken for granted that your school will definitely have good financial health. The next point to look at is that USPs do not just benefit the school, they also benefit parents and their children. So USPs become a very, very important tool that benefits your customers. So kids pick up skills that they ordinarily will not get from the subjects through your school's USPs. And this is so very, very important. Life skills that will help them to live better lives as adults. The other point is that it makes it possible, having USPs make it possible for your graduates to have an affinity to your school, to have a bonding with your school, a relationship that will keep bringing them back. And so wherever they go and they come to your environment, they will like to come to this school because of the type of relationship they had when they were in school. And you'll be proud of them. You take them around the classrooms, show them off, tell your current students what they are doing, where they are, and so on and so forth. The same thing with their parents. And if you have occasions and you invite them, they will not hesitate in coming. They will make sacrifices for your school. If you have reason to do fundraising, you don't have any problem because you have a very strong relationship with your alumni. And so what do? You benefit a lot from it. And then finally, it presents your school as a socially responsible school. Not all USPs has the capacity to do this, but as we are going to see in the examples I will give, a whole number of them will present your school as a socially responsible school. In other words, the community you live in will feel your impact. The community you exist in will feel your impact. And those impacts will help to grow your school. So we can see that having USPs are so very important. The next thing we want to look at is what to consider before we determine what our school's USP should be. Assuming that you already have, but it was not well thought out, the points I'm about to present might help you to either strengthen what you already have or to change it. If you don't have at all, the points I'm about to raise will help you to determine what your USPs should be. The first point is to analyze your current staff. To analyze your current staff basically. And this includes management, the teachers and the non-teaching staff. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? You cannot pick a USP that your staff cannot implement. If it is something that they are not tooled to be able to do now, and there are skills that they can acquire, then the first thing to do is to let them have those skills first before you adapt the USP. And so if you adapt a USP simply because you think it's attractive, because you think it has high capacity to bring in students and sustain them, and you don't have the staff to implement them, it will leave you worse than you were before taking on that USP. So you have to be serious about this and deliberate about this. The same thing with the management of your school. Again, it has to be something that people who will implement it like. If they don't like it, they will implement it haphazardly. And when they do that, you might not gain a lot. But if you have the right staff, then it is guaranteed that you will succeed on that. The second point to look at is the interest and capacity of your target audience. Your target audience basically are the parents and their children. Do they have interest in what you want to call your USP? Let us assume that what the school has in mind to do as USP is to teach their students how to fly aeroplane. But parents and students of that school are not interested in learning how to fly aeroplane. And that is not in the curriculum. So it can be a USP, yes. But is that what they want? No. They may want something as simple as how to make liquid soap. Just how to make liquid soap. So you need to be mindful of the interest and capacity. Interest, because if they're not interested, the goal of having it will be defeated in the first place. Capacity, because if it is something that will require money and they cannot pay for it, then obviously it will still not work. So it is very, very important that we keep this in mind. And how do you know the interest and capacity? You know the capacity because you're already dealing with them. You know capacity because you already live in the environment or work in the environment, so you understand the environment. But as for interest, a simple survey on students and their parents will give you a clear idea of what they want and what they are interested in. Of course, you may come up with suggestions and allow them to pick from the pool. The third is to analyze your competitors. Assuming that you want to teach your children carpentry, and your next door neighbor that is better equipped with better structures is teaching carpentry as their USP, then you may need to struggle with starting a USP on that, because it might be difficult for you to convince parents that your own carpentry will be different from the one that the school beside you is doing. And so you have to check what the schools around you are doing. As much as possible, stay away from those. But where you have a competitive advantage over them, you can take it head on and then use your competitive advantage to win the hearts of your students, your existing parents, and prospective parents. This is very, very important. So you need to look at what competition is already doing so that you are able to see whether you can fight it out or you quietly look for something else, because you have a lot to benefit from. The next thing that you have to consider before picking your USP is what I have mentioned already: to engage your existing customers and to engage your prospective customers. Engaging them is basically to sound them out so as to discover what they are interested in, or to sell something to them that they are not familiar with. And then by the way you sell it and by the proposition, that is where the unique selling proposition comes in. By the proposition, you might get them to your side. Until you do this, you may just be solving a problem that does not exist. The next point, the fifth point you may want to look at, is your ability to determine if you have collaborative opportunities for the execution of your USP. Take, for instance, that you have a USP that is centered on sports and you want to concentrate on footballing for boys and girls as well as athletics. And then not far from you is a football academy and you are friendly with the owner of the football academy. Then that is a good thing, because if you go to that institution for a meeting, they most likely will like to collaborate with your school. And so even if you don't have football stars and coaches, they will come around to do that for you at a fee, most likely, but something that will not break any bank. The same thing with athletics. Is there any institution, are there individuals that you know that can help? Assuming that your USP is something that has to do with community service. Take, for instance, giving health talk to fathers within your estate or within your neighborhood. Giving talk to people on retirement, on efficient ways of running business, on entrepreneurship, or going into fitness exercises, that you do conduct aerobics for people within your estate or within your environment once in a while, but you don't have the capacity to do these things. Do you know people that you can get, that you can collaborate with? or institutions that you can collaborate with that will help you to achieve this. So these are some of the things that you need to consider. The next thing you need to consider is market trend. If your USP is geared towards preparing children for the future, a USP can simply be to make every child that passes through your school a great cook. That has nothing to do with the future. But your USP can also be something that has to do with their future economic life. And so you have to think of the future market and today's market. So if you want to start teaching children typewriting, how to use typewriter in today's world, you are not considering the market trends today, and you're not considering their future. Because right now, nobody uses typewriter. Everybody uses computer. And so you have to look for something that aligns with the market trend. Right now, tech is the go-to in terms of market trend. Everybody is interested in tech, adults, children, and it is being assumed that in no distant time, tech will dominate the whole world, and many of the professions we have today may no longer exist. Why? Because of tech. So if you are considering having a USP that is tech related, it will be very, very attractive to your current customers and to your future customers, whether it is coding, whether it is robotic, whether it is Power BI, whatever it is, you will sell. You will sell. You won't even need to talk a lot. Again, your environment determines what you do. And this is very, very important. Apart from market trend, you have to think of cultural threats. And so if your school is cited within a culture that a particular thing is of interest to parents of your school, please consider that. And if it is a culture where a particular thing is completely abhorred by the culture, please don't go there. Don't go there at all. And finally, keep in mind that it is better to underpromise and overperform than to overpromise and underperform. And so when you are picking your USP, let it be something that when you sell it knowing full well that you will not just be able to meet expectations, but that you will be able to surpass expectations. This is very, very important. Moving forward, we look at some examples of USPs that you may want to consider. I will give you about 15, and then you think of them and check whichever one that you may want to consider. Number 1 and number 2 will be USPs that have to do with co-curricular activities and extracurricular activities. Number 1 is co-curricular activities. These are activities that are outside of the subjects, but that every child in your school must do. It is compulsory. It's also a way of raising extra cash for your school because parents will pay for it. And so you can pick a co-curricular activity as your USP. If you want to do that, I will encourage you very seriously to try things on coding, to try things on robotics, to try things on leadership, to try things on entrepreneurship, to try things on finance. Market trends favor all these. The 4Cs of the 21st century favor all this. And so it's important that you do not just have a co-curricular activity as a USP, but that is centered on these things or a whole lot of other things which we should be talking about very soon. I know a school that is already doing this in these areas, and parents are happily paying, and the kids are getting seriously equipped. The second one is extracurricular activities. This is where you have all your clubs, debate club, quiz club, drama club, and so on and so forth. So pick clubs that are of value to your customers and your prospective customers. And as you do that, parents will pay for some of them. Some of them may be paid clubs, some of them may not be paid club, but keep in mind that because it's extracurricular activities, children will have to choose where they want to play. In some schools, they're allowed to pick only one. In some schools, they're allowed to pick two, depending on what you have. But just know that doing them well is the most important aspect, not just starting them. So if you start a club, drama club, 1 year, 2 years, no drama performed, then what is the essence of the drama club? And so parents will lose interest. So it loses its purpose as a USP. The third one is university placement. Many parents are interested in their kids getting admission after secondary school, whether you like it or not, or getting admission into a good secondary school after primary school. And so you can decide, but this is more academic, you can decide that your USP is to ensure that every child that passes through your school graduates with a very wonderful WAEC results, graduates with a very wonderful JAMB results, gets admission in all the universities of their choice. And in most cases, you help them to get admission in most universities of their choice. To prove this, you have to everywhere publish your WAEC result to the public. At the end of this WAEC, when the result is released, out of 10 students that we fielded, 8 of them had straight A's, and the remaining 2 had 6 A's and 3 B2. This is good. Out of all of them, this number had 300 and above in JAMB. And then out of all of them, later, some months after, out of the 10 students that graduated from our school, these are the schools where they are. So this can become a unique selling point. But for you to make this your unique selling point, you have to go back to the first factor that we talked about in part 1 and 2, the quality of your teachers and your deliberateness about preparing them for WAEC and for JAMB, and you're being able to collaborate with public and private universities so as to get them admission. So this is very, very important. There is a school in Abuja that has students from all over Nigeria going there. Why? Because as soon as your child is there, it is guaranteed that he or she will almost make straight A's, and it is guaranteed that any university of interest will give that child admission on merit. So that school does not do any form of advertisement whatsoever. And every year, they reject almost half of those that apply because they are guaranteed to get their number, and then this is their USP and is working out for them. Number 4 is personalized instruction. In every classroom, you have students who are high flyers, you have average students, and then you have those who are struggling. So what you find in most schools is that the same method of teaching and the same curriculum is delivered on all these 3 categories of students at the same time. And so the high flyers don't improve, the average people hardly improve, or they just make small progress. The poor make small progress, and that is it. But if a school becomes deliberate about diversity and make the high flyers fly much more, and make the average students to become high flyers and the lower ones to perform above average, that's a very nice USP. Again, the quality of the teacher has a role to play on this. Number 5 is sports. Very, very interesting. I know a school that prides itself as a sporting institution. They have great football fields, they have great basketball courts, they have great badminton courts, multipurpose courts for all manner of sports, and they still do well in WAEC and JAMB. They still do well in NECO. Meanwhile, they are very, very strong in sports, and parents take their children to that school not because of English and math, not because of WAEC and JAMB, but because of sports. If you want to do this, be sure that you hire a coach or coaches, or collaborate with coaches that will take care of coaching your children. Don't just bring a wishy-washy staff to take charge. If not, it will not give you the profits that you deserve, as this being your USP. The next one is to be a multilingual school. If you have a school that it is taken for granted that any child that graduates from your school will be able to speak French language fluently, speak Spanish language fluently, speak German fluently, Mandarin fluently, English language fluently, a combination, whatever it is, 2 languages, 2, 3, 4 languages, foreign languages fluently. Depending on your environment, you'll be rejecting students all the time, because in these schools, parents will always want to bring their children, especially parents that have the capacity to relocate or send their children abroad for higher education. Another thing that you can make your unique selling point is in technology integration. So you can boast that in my school, everything is tech. Everything in the classroom tech, laboratories tech, sporting tech, everything tech. If you do this, very many parents will bring their children to your school. The other one is building a strong community engagement. Like I said earlier, if you are a school that your USP is just to make your community a better community. You're going to have students. If you are a school and you organize aerobics for the adults in your community, depending on the space you have, or you even take it to a larger space outside of your school, and you do this just once in a month, you'll be so connected to that to those who live in that environment. There will be so much bonding between you and those who live in that environment that if they want to recommend any school for anyone, you will come to their mind first. The same thing if you organize activities for the children that live in that environment. I'm not talking about parents of your school or your own school students. It's taken for granted that you should be doing this for them already, but doing it for the environment. And so community engagement is a very nice way of doing USP. The other way is to have instructional strategy that is completely student-centered. Okay, this is close to what they call Montessori. Many people that claim to be Montessori don't even understand what Montessori is. And so if you have a school that is very strong in student-centered method of teaching, project-based method of learning, teaching and learning, you're most likely going to have a lot of students. How about tourism and expedition? You have pictures everywhere showing that your students have been to almost all the islands we have in the whole world, all the go-to islands we have in the whole world, several countries of the world, again, depending on your environment. Or Olumo Rock, Warm Water Spring in Ekiti State, and all the ones that we have, Yankari Game Reserve, and the rest of them that we have in Nigeria. That can be a unique selling point. The other unique selling point you definitely want to consider is home-school collaboration. Home-school collaboration. What do you offer the families of your students? A school that becomes deliberate about offering the families of their students something, not just inviting them for inter-house sports or for culture day or for all these ones, no, but deliberately going out of your way to offer them something. It could be health check and health talk. It could once again be fitness and sports. It could be anything, but offer them something deliberately, periodically, and consistently. If you do this, if you can find something around this, you are very, very good to go. You can decide to be a STEM-friendly school. In our school, if you want to excel at science, you want to excel at technology, you want to excel at engineering, you want to excel at mathematics, come to our school. That can be your unique selling point. Again, you have to have the right staff to be able to boast of this. And then finally, culture, culture, culture. Depending on your environment, again, culture is key and can serve as a very, very good, unique selling point. Okay? All right. One of the things that I would like us to look at again is, okay, if you have considered these and the other ones that you already know, other unique selling points that you already know, how do you institutionalize them? How do you make them your own? Point number one is to select one or two that you want to make your USP, or to decide to strengthen what you're already using, or to decide to change it. So selection. Point number two is branding. If you are going to say we are expert in sport, then all your branded items should have something about sport on it. Whether they are branded keepsakes like cups, bags, hankies, ties, t-shirts, whatever they may be, they should have something that shows that you are a sporting school on it. Then your badge, your school flag, your whatever it is that you have as a school should have this type of branding, so that when people see your signboard, they are already seeing something extra. That for this school, primary or secondary, to have this great footballer or Michael Jordan on it, it shows that they are very strong in basketball, and that is why they have the picture of Michael Jordan on it. no matter how small the picture may be. But branding is very, very key, because at the end of the day, we talk about marketing, but that should be part of your marketing. The third thing that you need to do is to integrate it into your curriculum. It shouldn't be something you do when you have time. It should be structured and timetable bound. So integrate it into your curriculum, and as you do that, it is taken for granted that you'll be able to implement them consistently and timely too. Number 5 is to think of the things, materials and equipment that will be required to run them if they need materials and equipment. So you have to buy those things far before you start. And if there's anything that will be required, you have to have them far before you start. Number 6 is communicating them. So when you get to the point where you have made all the materials available and you are ready to go, you have to communicate this. Communicate it to existing parents, to existing students, prospective parents, prospective students, by inviting the prospectives to your school community to explain to them, or to a venue that is convenient to them to explain to them. You can explain it through one-on-one meetings. You can explain it through group meetings. You can explain it through your websites. You can explain it through your social media handles. But you can do all of them. You can do either or all, or a combination that works for you. And then finally, you take off. But before you take off, be sure that when you start, you start. You will start well, you will run it well, it will be consistent. And of course, if you need to change it along the way because market trend has changed, things have changed, well, you go ahead and change it. But the most important thing is to run it well. If you don't run it well, even if you change to a new one, people will not have confidence in you. That is very, very basic. And finally, periodic evaluation. Just as with every other thing you do, you must periodically evaluate to see how well your USP is being executed and the effect of your USP. So in your form, which you give to prospective students or your existing students to fill their biodata form, one of the things you should have there is, how did you get to know about us? What did you hear about us before coming that attracted you? That will give you data so that you're able to see 1 year after how many people pointed at your USP as their reason for coming. And then there are several other ways. But what is important is that you must evaluate. And your evaluation must be periodic. Maybe once a term, it can be once a session. It should be minimum once every term. So at the end of every term, you evaluate. But the best way to do it is to evaluate at the end of every midterm. At the end of every midterm. So midterm of the first term, you evaluate. End of first term, you evaluate. Midterm of second term, you evaluate. End of third term, you evaluate. And then do something with the result of your evaluation. If everything is working well, thumbs up. If there is something to improve, improve on it. Whatever it is, do it. So USP is something so important that as school owners, we can't toy with it. As school managers, we cannot toy with it, so long as we want to grow our enrollments. Please like this video, share this video, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. In less than a week, I will be coming back with a video on the third factor that will help to grow your school's population. Remember that we have 4 of them. So we'll be taking on the third one, and then we'll be getting ready to push into the 4th one in this series. Thank you very much.